so that I can go very fast. Maybe they're having trouble. But at least we know that drugs affects the youth more than the others. But drugs affects all of us, whether you are the direct user or not, but drugs affects us. Yeah, it's not coming out so well. But I wanted to say that we have all sorts of drugs. You can see those ones. But the most common drug that is normally used in our country is alcohol. That one I'll emphasize in the main service because it affects us, the youth, because of our parents who are alcoholic. And then now, because when we have alcoholic parents or our grandparents are alcoholic, we have a problem of becoming, we are genetically predisposed, so we can become even more addicts. They can be bad, but will become worse if we start. I'm talking to some people here. If you know that your father takes alcohol and you are here, or your grandfather, just don't try to start. Because when you start, you'll be worse than your great-grandfather, you'll be worse than your father, you'll be worse than everyone else. So that is what, how serious alcohol is. So that alcohol, I'll talk more about it in the other service. But for us, we have many other drugs that came when you are growing up, the Generation Z and the generation that was before you. Akina Cyrus, sijui classify wapi, the millennium. The millenniums, millennium, sijui, they found drugs were in plenty. And right now, drugs are still in a great way. We have a lot of drugs, we know them, but the one that is commonly found is the bangi, cannabis. Bangi is the one that is so common. And we know the effects of bangi, they are very bad. We have seen it as parents. We have seen when our children are taking how serious it becomes. And then we have the hard drugs, the heroines, the heroin, and which other ones? You know them more than me, because most of the generation, the millennium have taken them. Maybe for you, you are cleaner, but you have seen the effects of the ones that were ahead of you. Because those hard drugs, even if you stop taking, they are so bad that later on you'll have the effects. And most of the effects and the bad effect is that they bring death. So we have many types of drugs, even the ones that we see the chokora using. That is a type of a drug. Hizo za kusniff. And those are the readily available ones. Hiyo dawa ya guru. The guru yenye hawa vitu wa viatu wanatumia. So you see people sniffing. Is a drug. And when you take it, you cannot go to up to most of those chokoras, they don't get to that years, and it's because of that guru. It has a lot of chemicals in it, such that you die so fast. So some of these things you just try, start sniffing kadogo, and then later on you become an addict. Unaona yenye shosho wetu wa zamani, they were using the tobacco. Tobacco is also a drug. There has been a lot of smoking. The government has really fought with the smoking. So nowadays, they have designated places for smoking, but they really would want the tobacco to go. But it's so sad because the farmers of tobacco, they wouldn't want it to go. Because those are some of the challenges when we are fighting drugs. Because there are those farmers who benefit from the produce. So fighting some of these drugs that are affecting us negatively. Even the miraa, they have a lot of drugs inside it. The miraa. But watu wa Meru, they say it's not a big deal. I'm sorry for the Murians in the house. But miraa, according to venye tumesomeshwa, it has a lot of drugs in itself. And one of the effects of miraa, ukizoea kuitumia sana, inatoa spams. Unatoa spams kwa mwili. I'm talking to someone. So mtajua later on what will happen to you. Some of these drugs, if we don't talk about them, because they are bringing money to us. Because there are those people who sell drugs. They say it brings a lot of money. I remember one shosho, when we had a conversation with her talking about bangi. And I said the way these drugs have come and affected us negatively. And she was very much against my conversation. I didn't know that they have a company in their home until God had to open, there was a deal, somewhere a dealer here in Kiserian. Kumbe mama yao alikuwa neiba yangu pale. So when I talked about it, kumbe huyo shoshu alikuwa anabebanga na chondo akienda akileta hapa Kiserian iuzwe. Na sikuwa najua. So akaniambia vile inaletanga pesa. So in as much as those drugs will bring money to you, if you are the drug dealer, just know it has a lot of effect. It has affected us here, even in the Kiserian church. Once I was a patron of the youth. I know of a young guy who died of those drugs in this church. I know. He used to come with a kabag. Some of you can know. So it has affected us. So if we don't talk about these things, they are affecting us so much negatively. These are things that we can do for ourselves. We can say no to drugs. We can say no to drugs ourselves. Leave alone those things that the government is doing for us. If we are going to town to pinga the government and the bill and do all that, but there are things that are also affecting us, and we can say no to them, and they can be good. By our saying no to some of these things, they will work positively for us. So please, let's know that there are these drugs. The church is so much concerned because we need you. In the way you are telling us that you are this generation that is very powerful, for sure we are relying on you. When I was categorizing my children, I realized I have one of your Z. Yenu ni Z. I have one, my last born. The others wako hiyo, the other class. But I know you people have more problems than hata hawa mbeleni. Hawa drugs ndio ziliwasumbua. Lakini nyinyi yenu hata it has more challenges. But now if we go to the Bible, tumeambiwa, this is also the time that you are supposed to remember our Creator. This is the time that we are supposed to rejoice as being young. This is the time that we are supposed to use our energy as young people. Young people in the Bible, they used to do so much. They are the ones when Ananias and Sapphira sinned against God by lying. They are the ones who, the young men would be called, wanachukua, wanaenda wanazika huyo, wanarudi, wanazika mwingine, because they were energetic. So let us use our energy. Let us know that we are already energetic, because the reason why we are taking drugs, because sababu tumesikia zinakuongeza, unakuwa hyper. You are already hyper. You don't need to be hyperized. You're already a hyper. The drugs, you don't need drugs to keep you high. You are already high. But the age that you are in, you are already high. So don't look for those high things, because they are affecting you and they will affect us. Like the cigarette. The cigarette, the person next to you gets more of the drug than you who is taking it. That is why waliambiwa kunywange na huko basi wakufe peke yao kwa side. But the government is really, and the world at large, because there are so many effects of these drugs. They are bringing a lot of cancer. These cancers that you are hearing that have come, some are coming because of alcohol, others are coming because of tobacco, others are coming because of all these drugs that we are taking. And then for you, this generation of viewers, you are overdoing even the small things that we have. The coffee. Coffee is also, it has caffeine. See, we know that. It's a chemical. That chemical, when you overdo, you become addictive. It's so addictive. And then it's also a drug. So there are people who will not sleep without taking like 5 cups of glasses of coffee. Then just know, whenever, if you can't function because you have not taken coffee, just know you are under drug. There are these, like our mama sasa, for us women, our drug that we use, the majani, nicotine. It's also a drug. So those things that you don't think they are drugs, they are. And when you take in excess, they have a lot of negative impact. So let us be aware that most of the things around us, we already have enough chemicals. We don't need to inhale more. We inhale a lot of bad things in the air. So let us not look for other inhalers. Hiyo tobacco mnaanza kuweka kwa mapua yenye na ingine kwa mdomo yenye shosho wenu, kwa sababu shosho wenu alifanya na nyinyi sasa mko generation mnaanza kuweka. Those bad things that people used to do, don't do them, because now you are exposed to more problems. So ule shosho yako alikaa miaka mingi akiwa na katubako ujiweka high those days kwa sababu they were eating well. For us, we are eating junk food. So we have a lot of things that are affecting us negatively. So let us be aware there are drugs. Drugs comes in all forms. Utaekewa kwa biscuit. You can be drugged mukienda in social groups. You can be drugged anywhere. Even here in church, we have people who are not very good. As I said, there was a young man who used to come with a bag. Hizo two bags wenye mnabebanga tu rucksack, tumejua mnabebanga vitu. Na it is so bad to be a pedra. Some of you are used as pedras ili upewe kashiringi. If you are to make money, please make money in the right way. Wacha kutengeneza pesa in the wrong way. Even if your parents are doing those evil things, can you be that person who will stand at your time and say no to all these things? So may the Lord bless you. We'll have more time to talk and have this awareness, talk about these things that are affecting us, the drugs. We're also supposed to talk about HIV. We get time to talk about it when we have time. Let's talk about these things, because it is in church we can talk about it. It's in our small ways we can talk about it. Let's talk about these things that are affecting us negatively. So if I were you and my parent is taking alcohol, can you be that change? Because you can even have a chance to preach to your parents so that they will know that you can stay without alcohol and you still remain a man. Because most of the time when we are taking those substances, we want to prove a point. You don't need to prove to us that you are a young person. You are, even if you are sober. So let us be sober. We have seen the effects of these drugs around us. Even personally, in our family, we lost one of our cousins when he was trying to be rehabilitated. He was taken to a rehabilitation center, but he became worse. By they were trying to fight the drugs, the heroin that was in him. So when they brought these other drugs, for the hospital drugs, they reacted to him the whole night very badly, and in the morning he passed on. So some of the things that we are putting in our bodies, sometimes when the doctors want to remove them from us in a rehabilitation center, they don't work. That is why people are relapsing all the time, because those addictive things, they will always ask you for more. Even alcohol, once you become an addict, in the morning, even if you took it last night, in the morning, that is what you want to take for breakfast. So don't start those bad things because you have seen they are bad. Because some of us will not be able to go back to our normal. So may the Lord bless you. I think that is enough for now. We keep the topic going. Not unless there's a question, you can answer before. About drug, anything about drug, anything about sex, anything about life. Yes. Yeah, there are many reasons why people go to drugs. Sometimes you think you are stressed, ati unafikiria when you take now a drug ndio urare, one stress is one thing that makes people go to drugs. There are other people, they want just to experiment, especially when you're a young person, you want to experiment. And then because of those high feelings, most people want to try. But once you try, now coming out of it is not normally easy. So that is the reason why people go on drugs, and because of the peer pressure. If your friends are taking, usikia ni wewe peke yako haukunywi, so unajikuta umekunywa. Kwanza for us as siku hizi generation yetu, tukienda places, those social places, everybody is taking wine. Our time people are taking wine. Wine inaonekana ikiwa kitu mzuri. But one bottle of wine is equivalent to 5 beers. So you can imagine ukikunywa hiyo wine, unakunywa kiasi gani. Wakati 1 glass of nini, unakunywa chupa mingi kuliko mwenye amekunywa machupa. So wewe you become more of an addict faster than huyu mwingine. And then for women, you can become addict very fast. And then some of the drugs that we take, like tobacco, when you are expectant, inaweza haribu mtoto. Inaharibu mtoto. So ukikunywa pombe ama ukivuta sigara, itaharibu mtoto akiwa kwa tumbo. So for us women, it is even worse. There are so many things we can talk. Tuko na private time yetu. Kuna anything else? Hizo vitu zingine si tutaongea baadaye. So asante.